For those of you who don't know me, my name is Celina Gratton. I'm a Customer Success and Project Manager at Authentize. At Authentize, we create a workflow software or manufacturing execution system to help in the production or the AM production facility. And by the end of the presentation, you'll all be experts at what that means. I have experience in the aerospace industry. I spent about a few of which were in the Additive Manufacturing Solutions team, and I have a background in materials engineering. So today I will talk to you about evaluating return on investment from workflow software. So first of all, I will take you through what does that mean, and go into a bit more detail as to what workflow software is. Then understanding the problem at hand. So what are some key inefficiencies that AM facilities might face today? The three main areas of efficiency that address these problems, how to calculate your return on investment, and finally, how you can start your efficiency journey. So as many of you know, additive manufacturing or 3D printing was first invented many years ago, mostly around prototyping. But as the technology has evolved, more and more industries are starting to use it. It's a traverse style technology, so as additive manufacturing moves towards the production scale, efficiency now moves into focus. Workflow software is available to keep up with this increase in production. Workflow software will track and contextualize data from within each process step of your manufacturing process, and I will go into a bit more detail later on the next slide. And efficiency is, the workflow software will improve your efficiency within the production flow, and this increase in efficiency eventually will lead to an increase in the return on investment and reduce your cost per part. So the higher your throughput, the higher your ROI. Now, this is a sort of production flow or process image on what exactly a workflow software is. So it's a data-driven end-to-end additive workflow. As you can see from the top arrow, it's going to be sort of a basic approach to additive manufacturing production from design, preparation, production, delivery. As an example, Authentize will take you through most of these steps, starting from material management, so raw material collection, and then through the software you can assign actions to this material, such as batching, sieving, testing, loading the machines, and the software will give you a full traceability of all the material that you've used in the facility. So you can always go back to it and see what steps that material has taken, for example. Then we move into intake. So this can be, for example, order creation, quoting through service providers, resource estimates, travel generation, and printability through, for example, any connected software. Then we move on to scheduling. So this is done automatically through the workflow that was chosen on a specific order. So it will schedule time for the printer, the post-processor, and the shipping that have been included in that software. Finally, we go into reporting. And like I mentioned, that is traceability reports, not only of the material, but also of every single part that you print. And also things like KPI dashboards, for example, showing you a visual representation of the data that has been collected throughout the journey. Now, understanding the problem. So what do I mean by this? This is the main inefficiencies that someone in a additive manufacturing facility might come across day to day. So we're going to look at three different aspects today, and I'm kind of going to break it down as to how workflow software is able to address these inefficiencies. First of all, we have manual tasks. So this can be any day-to-day repetitive manual tasks that add up to hours and hours in a month, which could be done automatically. Then we have data inefficiency. So this can be lack of transparency of the data throughout the facility, or unreliable ways of collecting and analyzing the data. Up next, we have various software interfaces that can lead to an increased cost and a loss of time for a facility. So first of all, I'll give you some examples of manual tasks when I speak about manual task inefficiencies. A big one is scheduling, so having to manually schedule all the printers in the facility, the runs, the downtimes, both for the printing and the post-processing. Tracking customer orders and their corresponding workflow, so what part has to go where next, especially if all the parts in one print don't necessarily all go to the same post-processing machines and they have to be split and controlled. So you can imagine for a big facility with a lot of machines, that is a lot of confusing and manual work. Collecting data from machine, manually uploading this into Excel, for example, and analyzing this data. Finding out what print is printing where, and what machines are available for the next print, and calculating things such as print times and print costs. So the use of a workflow software will eliminate these workflow tasks by doing them automatically. In fact, within 10 months, by using Authentize, Boeing has saved between 80 to 95% on day-to-day tasks through the use of our MES. And this obviously will save on operator costs, which will contribute to an increased ROI. A facility with a high throughput can attain their ROI, so their breakthrough point, within 3 months, and they can even triple that in 8. Next up, we have data inefficiencies. So what do I mean by that? It can be the lack of reliability through different sources of data and also human error that can occur. The loss of valuable data through using tools like Excel or even paper trail. And then checking different statuses within the facility, whether it's material inventory, material usage, the cost, or the time left on orders, checking the order status for clients, and then communicating that through emails or phone calls, etc. So workflow software will provide data transparency throughout the entire facility, allowing everyone to have first-hand access to all the data. And this even includes, for example, customers and suppliers who can have restricted access to the workflow software. So like I mentioned, instead of having to send back and forth emails or having to call even within the facility, call operators, asking them different statuses of customer orders, this is all transparently visible on the one workflow software. Then we have data capture versus data entry. So without a workflow software, it is quite a manual task to enter data manually into various softwares that you might use today. Whereas with the use of a workflow software, you can connect the machine directly to the workflow software, meaning it will capture the data, not only making it faster, but also more reliable. And this increased reliability is also seen through a single source of data. So there's only that one location that the data can be seen. And more excitingly, a workflow software can also learn and predict using collected data. So the AM process isn't just, it's quite unique. It's not just building a part, you are physically forming the material into a shape. And the contextual data behind this is extremely valuable. And a workflow software can process this data, and it can learn the behavior through repetition of the material, of the geometry from the specific machines that you're using, and it can learn from all the data that it's connected to give you better recommendations in the future. on how to build your parts. This increases your value proposition and therefore increases the ROI of your facility. And then finally, the third point we're going to talk about are software interfaces. So what I mean by that, first of all, is simply the cost of various software interfaces that a facility has to buy. This is because different OEMs, machine OEMs, for example, or different software companies, depending on what you want to do to your part, will have their own software. The time taken to switch between all these software interfaces on your computer, saving your work, closing the tab, opening a new one. The time taken to upload data onto different software and the possibility of human error between these. The time and investment that is wasted to train all your users to use a bunch of different software interfaces, and also the difficulty to link these software interfaces to one another, because essentially that's not what they're built to do. So workflow software is able to remove this inefficiency through connecting the APIs of the different software interfaces within that single workflow software. For example, if there are, let's say, three different or if there are three or more algorithms around mesh healing that are competing against each other, which can be seen in this evolving market, you are able to switch between those three algorithms at no cost within that same workflow software. Other examples of software that can be integrated are simulation, file conversion, generative design algorithms. So through the use of a workflow software, you will only have one interface for all the operations, and that will increase your overall return on investment. Now, we've spoken about the three main areas of efficiency. We are going to look at how does one calculate return on investment. First of all, we have labor costs, and then we have commodity costs. So focusing on labor costs first, so we'll look at the time wasted doing manual tasks per month times the monthly salary of whether it's operators, engineers, or managers that are doing these set tasks. These are tasks that I spoke about earlier in the presentation, such as manual scheduling, tracking customer orders, and corresponding that information to them via email, phone call, etc., collecting, uploading, and analyzing data from machines, and checking your data throughout the facility. So in total, that will be the labor costs that you can save by using a workflow software. Then moving on to commodity costs, this can be things like wasted raw material, for example, through human error, error of calculation, or for example, failed warning or failed to identify that a material batch has expired, because that's something that can be alerted on a workflow software. Then we have cost of software interfaces, as I mentioned previously, and the cost of machine and downtime, whether it's machine depreciation, but also loss of valuable time that your machine can be printing profitable parts. So adding these two sections together, we get the total cost saved by using a workflow software. To calculate your return on investment, it is these saved costs over the investment of the software times 100 to get you a percentage. For example, using Authentize, Boeing has reached an ROI of 300%. Now, how can you start your efficiency journey? First of all, first thing you want to do is identify a champion. So this can be a lean manager, a head of operation, someone who's ready to start this efficiency journey, to take the initiative. Then you want to gather as much evidence as possible through time studies or cost studies to really identify what part of your facility is causing you the most problems, the most inefficiencies. And we could even provide any templates as well to be able to do these studies. then it's important to see the appetite for the transition project, whether it is for the entire facility to start with, or if you want to start by a specific module, such as material management, scheduling, or service provider bidding, for example. So if that sounds like it's something you're interested in doing, we can definitely help. I've put my email there if you want to get in touch, but I will also take any questions, and I will also be at the career fair tomorrow hiring if anyone wants to reach me there. Thank you very much.
It's amazing. Thank you so much, Celine, and a great presentation with very insightful information on how software can improve return on investment. And the example of Boeing was quite exciting. And if more people companies in this case, can use your software to do that, that will improve all the standards in the industry. And so, question: if clients want to start working with you, what are the first steps?
Yeah, so first of all, get in touch. We're all very friendly. And things that we do as an introduction is often we'll give demonstrations, so just live demos of what our software looks like, what are the different modules that we can offer. One of the strong benefits of using our software is that we are very customizable. So depending what the size of the company is, what industry they work in, what their goals are, we accommodate to every single type of customer. So you don't have to, it's not just a one size fits all, but we are able to include different modules or remove modules that you might not need and make it unique to each customer. So yeah, so the first step would be to get in touch and to discuss what exactly are the client needs for the software.
How does that process looks like in the customization process? Well, if that's what you usually do, or do you also have a standard version as a basic standard for?
So we have a standard recommended version that for any sort of new suppliers, we will give them a framework of a standard version. And then on top of that, it is completely up to them to add any features that might be useful to them. So we do have a library of modules that we offer, and we can take them through these modules for them to pick what is best suited for their industry, for their company.
We have a question from Gregor. Which cost of software interfaces could you point out as an example?
So I'm assuming this means the cost of software before the workflow software.
Maybe Gregor can explain a little bit further your question.
So I wouldn't be able to say exactly or exact examples, but it could be software that you use on top of your simple CAD software. So any extra design that you want to do, or any extra analysis you want to do on a part, or any software that comes with a different machine OEM. Yeah, so that's what I meant for, yeah, with wasted commodity cost is the cost of buying different software. Maybe commodity was the wrong word, but the cost of the NRC of buying different softwares, just having one instead of buying multiple ones is what I meant.
Awesome. And what are the main challenges did you see that you noticed with your clients when they try to implement your software?
Challenges when they try to implement it. I would say a challenge that we see, first of all, is that maybe a lot of the industry isn't quite ready for workflow software, we're moving a bit too fast for the demand. But when it comes to actually implementing the software, it is such a friendly user face. For example, I've worked in the company for about 3 months now, and I feel like I'm already a pro at using the software. So there hasn't been many challenges in actually having to teach the software or implement the software for our customers, because it is quite easy to use. And like I mentioned, because it's so customizable to what our customer wants, it ends up being exactly what they want it to look like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. And about your point on the industry might not be ready yet for workflow optimization, can you expand on that? Or
yeah, I mean, I think that maybe it's because I'm still fairly recent in this exact section of additive manufacturing, but I feel like it's something that's not very popular yet. I feel like there are some companies that try to design or create their own workflow software, and they don't realize that there are some experts in the field that can that can reach their return on investment breakpoint at such a quick rate because of all the years of experience that we have behind it already.
If you would say which industries are from your clients, which industry would you consider more active in already that are going towards workflow optimization?
Yeah, that's
really
a good
curious.
question.
Yeah.
So it first started, our client base used to be more the industries that need to stick to specific standards, such as aerospace, defense, medical, because the workflow software allows you to put specific restrictions on your workflows and specific work instructions. So you have to double check that you have this exact amount of powder with this exact particle size distribution, and it offers you ways to basically foolproof your manufacturing process. So at first it was more popular within the aerospace industry, for example. However, more and more we see it in consumable industries as well, for example, electronics, because they tend to produce at such a high volume, where the manual costs that I mentioned in my presentation tend to take so much time that they see the benefits of using a workflow software immediately, because of that massive throughput that they have within the facility.
Absolutely. Yeah, the manual costs are crazy in 3D printing if you're not careful from the beginning. The organization. So I really see the value of your software. And thank you so much for sharing all what you are guys doing. And wish you all the best in the 3 months, and you're already here presenting your product. That's amazing.
Thank you very much.